All right, so here we go on James 1:15. When lust has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and when sin is accomplished, it brings forth death. So we'll go word by word real quick, just looking at these, and then we'll tie it in to James 1:14. So this love is conceived, that's the birth or seeds being planted type idea that James is going with on this verse. It gives birth to sin. Now this sin, that's the breaking of God's moral laws. Not the civil laws. Remember back in the Old Testament, book of Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, they talked about, don't eat shellfish and that type of stuff. That's not the laws we're talking about here. We're talking about God's moral laws. When sin is accomplished, when it is completed, when it has grown up, then it brings forth, or it produces, the product of that plant. The fruit of that plant is death. Now this death I thought was kind of interesting. In the Greek, Thanatos is the word that James chose to use here, which is, if you're a Marvel fan, it's kind of like Thanos. I just thought that was kind of cool to throw that in there. But this Thanatos, this is death, darkness, it's hell. So when this sin is full grown, it brings darkness. So now let's go ahead and tie this into the bigger picture of what James is talking about. So on James 1:14, we're talking about our desires, our temptations to us. So that's similar to we're the fish, and there's the fisherman up there, our desires, and then the lure or the worm on the hook is that desire. James is talking about in this verse, after we've taken that bait, we start getting reeled in. Okay, so that's what's going on here. So with these types of things, now that you've given into sin, it becomes kind of your kryptonite. It's the thing that really trips you up a bunch. Now that you've given into it, it will keep reeling you in unless you do something active about it. Again, when we're the fish, it's pretty easy to swim away from that bait, that worm. It doesn't look quite right. It doesn't smell quite right. So we can swim away from whatever that might be. The sex, the power, the money, any of those things, if you're jealous for what somebody else has. The other interesting thing that I thought with this is it's talking about giving birth to sin. And it kind of has I don't know, I kind of feel like it's an Adam and Eve type thing. Way back thousands of years ago, there was one rule that God had for Adam and Eve. Don't eat of a specific tree. And they chose to do that. And he said, on that day, you will surely die. You will now be in darkness. So I think really what we're going for this James 1:15 is this is a huge warning. When you see that thing that you desire, you do need to swim right away from it. If you decide to take that bait, then that is going to grow up into something that's going to drag you into darkness, into death. Again, the main reason we want to be on this earth should be to be a useful tool of God. And that's the way James starts off this chapter. I'm a servant of the Lord Almighty. So again, with this, make sure you're reading your Bible, staying in prayer. Another big thing is to be in a fellowship of other believers. Those are some of the big things that can help us with our kryptonite, our things that trip us up the most. And again, James is just warning us here, telling us what will happen, because James grew up with Jesus. James has seen this on the schoolyard. He had Jesus, his older brother, helping him out. No, dude, you don't want to be getting messed up with that. Let me tell you where it leads. So this is James's warning to us, something that hopefully we have learned by now, but now as an adult, we need to go back through and figure it out again.